My people, serious wahala don show face so because right now, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu is now under heavy fire over a donation fund worth more than 20 billion naira. According to her, the intention is clear to finally complete the National Library. But Nigerians no dey carry last when it comes to matter like this. While some say it is a good move, others are shouting scam, calling for EFCC to probe and even asking where exactly did this kind of money come from. To make matters worse, she has already been dragged to court. You can see that this is no longer a small matter. And now to the second part. Senator Natasha is fully back in office. The big question is, will she spark another round of fire in the Senate? Or will this matter just go under the carpet? Take a listen and let me know what you think about everything in the comments.
Taking reactions to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's dramatic return to the National Assembly on Tuesday. After a grueling 6-month suspension, the Kogi Central lawmaker arrived at the National Assembly complex, accompanied by a crowd of supporters just hours after her office in the Senate wing was unsealed. The senator's return wasn't without controversy. Speaking to journalists before entering her office, Akpoti-Uduaghan revealed she had learned of her reinstatement through news reports and social media videos rather than official communication from the National Assembly management.
I read on the news, online news, that our office has been opened. I even saw a video where the clerk was opening the door to the office himself. So as at this moment, I have not been officially communicated to, because I expect an institution like the National Assembly should have some administrative procedures and processes whereby communications will be written. The last written communication we got from the clerk was that which says that we are not allowed to resume because the case is at the appeal court. He also mentioned that it was within the purview of the Senate to lift this illegal suspension that had even already expired.
This was quite strange, Rufai. We were just talking about that. They didn't even tell her that they didn't open. Well, you know, hundreds of supporters of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan gathered at the National Assembly to welcome the returning lawmaker, but were barred from entering Parliament and dispersed with tear gas by security operatives. The supporters, who included activist and co-founder of the Bring Back Our Girls movement, Aisha Yusufu, thronged the National Assembly complex, waving Nigerian flags, chanting, dancing, and singing praises for the return of the Kogi Central lawmaker.
For Nigeria, Peter for Natasha, Natasha for Nigeria, the princess of the Senate. You are taking your place today. You are a senator. Nobody can remove you. Your people are with you. God is with you. This is the wife of Alan.
There's no problem. You are looking God for what?
Tear gas at the National Assembly complex. They were not even, acting up. They were not. They were just there to welcome their lawmakers.
Yes.
Their constituents. Their constituents. What do you call them?
They're representatives.
No, that's all right. They call them street urchins.
Well, all right.
No.
Well, immediately after resuming her office, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan launched a blistering attack on the Senate President, Akpabio, accusing him of returning to the National Assembly like a dictatorship and threatening her as his personal servant. The Kogi Central lawmaker made the explosive remarks while addressing journalists in her office. She described her 6-month ordeal as a test of resilience against institutional injustice.
Everything, it just shows that sometimes it's good to put the institutions to test. We can't cow down in the face of injustice. No one is more Nigerian than us. Senator Akpabio is not more of a senator than I am. He's not a governor of this place. And he treated me He treated me as if I was his servant or I was a domestic staff in his house. It's very unfortunate that at this time, after so many years of democracy, we would have a National Assembly be run by such dictatorship. It's totally unacceptable. As for me, I'm glad to be here. And even though we have been illegally suspended, no day have I hesitated in effectively carrying out my duties as a senator of Kogi Central to the very best of my capacity.
And we have seen that Ayo, she has been doing her job. Well, the fiery comeback has already set social media ablaze, with many anticipating fresh political battles within the Senate as Natasha's return promises to reignite tensions over Akpabio's leadership style. I'll take a tweet. This person wrote on X. Another episode of the Senate reality show featuring Natasha versus Akpabio. Can we get back to real issues like minimum wage, ASU strikes, and insecurity? Natasha says she was treated like a servant, but millions of Nigerians are treated worse daily by a system she's part of. Maybe start fighting for them, not just for respect in the Senate. The Senate is turning into a personal battlefield. Nigerians are tired of watching elites fight for relevance while the country burns. Another ex-user wrote, I express my admiration and commendation for your courage in standing up for your beliefs. It is indeed unfortunate and unjust that we are faced with governance by authoritarian figures, which undermines the strength of our institutions, thus weak institution. I mean, I think I like that tweet, Ayo. I'll come over to you. I believe that this story, has come again in the, front burner. And like, the other Twitter user alluded to, there's going to be another version of a Natasha versus Akpabio saga, because obviously she did accuse him of dictatorship and treating her like a servant. But I don't know what your thoughts are with, the fact that they tear-gassed her people, her constituents that were there, and the fact that, they unsealed her office without her knowledge.
So we found out about the unsealing of her office while we're on air. So we, in the newsroom, virtual newsroom, we saw pictures that the sergeant at arms and the clerk of the Senate had gone to make a show of unsealing her office. And from her interview, we then discovered that she wasn't even informed. I know it put us in that situation as to, okay, this unsealing, does it mean that the Senate is now willing to receive her? Does it mean they're setting aside the court case which they had cited as the reason why they could not admit her following the end of her 6-month suspension? A number of questions around this. And if we're going to build strong institutions, which we continuously advocate here on this table, we have to ensure that we get to the bottom of this. It's not enough for us to just wake up one morning and all is forgiving, kumbaya, let's move on. And that's important, because like someone, the earlier ex-user had said that now it's just joke, we're making a joke of the Senate, whereby serious issues ought to be debated on the floor of the Senate. However, I dare say that this is a serious issue, because if we don't get it right, we'll continue to see matters like this emerge, and we'll continue to have disgraceful actions on different parts and different ways from the Senate. So I think it's important to get to the bottom of this. However, I do believe that, as Justice Binta Nyako had said, the people of Kogi Central deserve representation. And it is a shame that in the last 6 months, their voices were literally silenced, because there was no voice for them in the Senate. And that's another thing that we need to look into and really open and see what could have gone wrong and how we can correct it for next time. We shouldn't have people in Nigeria whose voices are silenced. I'm talking about silencing voices. A group of people exercising their right to protest, peaceful protest, or they're not even protesting. They're just showing solidarity, support to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, and we're tear-gassed. For what reason? We are too used to using, these forceful actions to disperse citizens of Nigeria, citizens who, despite all challenges, continue to exercise their rights and show support because they wanted their voices heard, and then they were tear gassed. For what reason? Did they behave in a disruptive manner? Were they disrupting any legislative proceedings, which, by the way, they are not there on recess? So I want to understand why tear gas was used on the people. Let's not get used to nonsense. Let's not get used to bad behavior. I think it's very important to state that. But then that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is there. I'm glad she said she continued to work for her constituents. Let us get work done. Yes. Let them come back from their long recess and actually begin to represent the interests of those who have put their trust in them by electing them to represent them in the Senate. That's what we want to see. But lastly, I want to say this. Beyond Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the reason why this was very important was we're not just fighting for the person. As we often say, we are fighting for the institution or fighting for the position. It can be Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan today. It can be someone else tomorrow. And if we don't speak up, we will continue to see this kind of undemocratic actions, almost dictatorial in its nature, happen in the Senate. And that's not what we want. We are defending Nigeria's institution, not just an individual.
All right. Well said. Thank you for your submission. I guess what I'll say is it the saga continues? Is that what's going to happen?
I hope not.
I believe you all have, touched on it on the news headlines. So we'll now take another story. Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, on Tuesday revealed that her 65th birthday fundraising initiative has generated over 20 billion naira towards the completion of the National Library project in Abuja, marking what she describes as her gift to the nation. Speaking at a special lunch with the State House correspondents, the First Lady defended her choice to mobilize funds for the library project instead of conventional birthday festivities, emphasizing her personal connection to education and libraries.
In this short while, money is still going. The one for today, have you converted it? Not yet, you see, and it's going to go again. So we have 20,456,188,924 kobo, and it's still growing. Trust me, it is still growing. This is what we can do as a nation. But, Mr. President said I should take a newspaper advert to acknowledge all the people that did donate. But please, can we be seated? As an Ijebu girl, so press, when I want to celebrate people, I would do that. But to me, I'm counting on all the money I could get.
As an Ijebu woman, she was able to raise all that money. Ijebu, no, they carry last, but I know she's also happy Ishekiri, right?
When you say Ijebu, I'm looking at an Egbama.
Oh, sorry, are you Ijebu? Correct guy, Ruby on fire.
So you share heritage with the First Lady.
Well, all right. In the meantime, the First Lady's fundraising announcement comes amid criticism from opposition figures, particularly former presidential candidate Peter Obi, who questioned the correctness of relying on birthday donations to complete critical national infrastructure. And I'll read Peter Obi's tweet in part. He wrote on X, "What kind of country must beg for charity to build the very temple of knowledge? What kind of leaders waste trillions on luxury and vanity, while the National Library, our intellectual furnace, remains abandoned in the capital? Serious nations treat libraries as sacred, but here we reduce them to afterthoughts, begging bowls or birthday tokens." Mrs. Tinubu was right. Education is the most enduring legacy a nation can give its people. Yet, to know this truth and still prioritize vanity is both shocking and tragic. If Nigeria will rise, it will not be on the wings of jets or the splendor of mansions, but on the strength of minds formed in classrooms and nourished in libraries. Until then, the lament remains true. We are finished. And that was the title of his post on X. We are finished. Well, meanwhile, The First Lady's 20 billion naira fundraising success has generated mixed reactions online, with supporters praising the First Lady's education focus, while critics question why citizens should fund what they consider basic government responsibilities through birthday donations. I'll take this post. Cassandra wrote on X, "It seems like billions in naira has become gari and beans in Nigeria. It's no longer what can Nigeria do for you under Nigeria's current leadership. It is now what can leadership collect from you, or so it seems." And I'm sure that, a lot of people will agree, because it seems like, the First Lady was able to raise all that money. Meanwhile, Ayodele Ademilui, the convener of the Ife and Arts Festival, has filed a lawsuit against the First Lady for raising funds for the completion of the National Library headquarters in Abuja. Ademilui is asking the court to compel the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate the bank account used for the donations, and for the First Lady and Zenith Bank to disclose the total amount raised and provide a full account of how the money was used. The lawsuit also seeks an order for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to relocate or to allocate at least 26% of the 2026 federal budget to education, which of course is a recommendation by UNESCO. Dr. Vati, over to you.
The first thing, in terms of principle, intention, involvement, we have consistently said Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, means well. She didn't want her birthday at 65 to be used for the purpose of vainglory. And it was in that regard that she called on people not to place adverts, not to send out gifts, but to contribute to the building of the National Library project. Why this is remarkable is that that National Library project has been on the table since 2006. When the federal government first made allocations for that, for the building of that library, they allocated 8.2 billion naira, which was a lot of money in 2006. Now, money has been budgeted for that same, National Library, to the extent that as recently as last year, we were told that that National Library by the Federal Ministry of Education will be completed this year. So here comes Mrs. Tinubu. In just 5 days, she has been able to raise over 20 billion.
5 days.
Now, the gentleman who is asking for a probe, the people that need to be probed are the people who have been mismanaging that project since 2006. We want to know how much was budgeted over the years, what they did with the initial 8.2 million, and why Nigeria does not have a national library, which, is something that you will find in other countries where there are serious-minded people in charge. You'll be surprised that these same people, over the years who have been in government, some of them have put money together to go and build private universities. They've, used money to acquire properties, either in Florida or in other parts of America. But here, they cannot use government resources to provide a library. Number two is that the question should also be asked about the nature of our society. If Senator Oluremi Tinubu were not the First Lady of Nigeria, would she be able to raise over 20 billion in 5 days?
How, Dr. Vati?
My own birthday is coming very soon. Maybe we should test it.
Yes, let's test it. We can make an announcement on what's trending.
I'll see whether I will be able to raise 1 billion in 1 year. In other words, I'm saying that, there's...
don't worry, all 10 of us will donate for 1 million. That's like...
I know the lady from Mkwata is very capable. But what I say is that, there's also the social dimension to all of this. Now to Mr. Peter Obi. Mr. Peter Obi was making the point about leadership. In fact, he's not the only one who made that point. Mr. Jide Ologun, this last Sunday, on This Day Live, made the same point. When we were congratulating Senator, he said, look, he thinks that it's shameful that it has to take the wife of the president to say that a national project should be completed through donations. And that this should be the responsibility of government, not just at the federal level. Once upon a time in this country, we used to have local government libraries. When I was in Silver Spring, the library in that community was so good that you could go there to borrow books, to go and read. Here in Nigeria, nobody is reading books. And that's why, the people who look down on Africans, they will say, if you don't want an African to know about something, just put it in a book. That culture has to change. If we want our children in the future to compete, we must cultivate the culture of literacy, of reading, of, intellection. But as for Mrs. Tinubu's intentions, I think she's well-intentioned.
So, my people, the heat is on. Is this 20 billion naira donation truly a selfless effort to finish the National Library, or is it another Nigerian story that might end without answers? EFCC dey under pressure to act, but whether real investigation go happen, we never sabi. One thing certain, Nigerians are now watching closely, more than ever, and with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan back in play, the Senate will become another battleground. But if silence takes over, then this case may just end before it begins. As always, we go to follow up the matter because this gist never finished. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.